topic of this video is you win some, you lose some. I think in life, like I've experienced just throughout my whole life, been a lot of moments where I've quote unquote lost or I've made a mistake or whatever, or wherever you want to call it at. Because I feel like with losses, it's subjective from person to person. Because you could run a 6 minute mile, and for one person that could be a huge PR, then for you that might be way off your PR. So I think it's all subjective and it can be interpreted different from person to person. But I think that's the point of it. Everybody has different wins. Everybody has different quote unquote. I don't even call it I'm gonna call it a loss just so you kind of know what I'm getting at. But I would say everybody has different missteps. Everybody has different executions in their lives, and I think that's a good thing about it because everybody's different. Everybody has different goals and aspirations and things that may deem a period of falling short for them. So I don't know. I just feel like with this, that's the thing about with goals and just winning and quote unquote losing. It's so different from person to person. So that's why I wanted to talk about it today. So first thing I want to talk about, just the first win. I feel like if you don't have that first win, this could be hitting 200 subscribers on YouTube. This could be running your first marathon. This could be breaking sub 15 in the 5K. I don't know. It's a lot of things that could be a first win, a first big win for someone. I just think if you don't have that first win, it's no really sense of hope for a lot of people. Because I feel like, theoretically, let's just say you just keep failing and failing and failing and failing and failing, and like that first win never came, you would never really have a sense of confidence and like, I guess a reason why you're trying to level up in life. Because obviously you need to fail, and sometimes you just have to keep messing up and kind of just experimenting with things to get to where you want to be. That's kind of what it is. But I feel like you need that first win, that first like aha moment, like, okay, I'm really on to something. Once that first win hits, it's kind of over after that, because once that first one hits, you just keep stacking and stacking and stacking, and then there'll be some failures in between, but you just keep progressing and progressing, and then you just keep proving to yourself that you are who you say you are, and you are who you want to be. Because obviously, like I just mentioned, I'm not naive. Before you even get your first quote-unquote win, it takes a long period of time to get there most of the time. You have to consistently show up and do what you set out to do and do what you have to do to get there and do what you get to do to get there. Because, any process, you get to do that. That's one thing I've heard. It's not I have to do it, I get to do it. Like, I chose to do this and I set out to do this, so I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. But I feel like if you don't get that first win, it's just that sense of confidence that you can do anything you set out to do. You can do anything you put your mind to. And once that confidence hits, just from my experience, it's a wrap at that point. There'll be certain things that there should be things that scare you. But the thing is, that first win is going to be like, I've done this. I think I can go even further than where I'm at right now. So I just think getting that first win is a very pivotal part in the process, because if you're doing it correctly, if you're being consistently good. Now, if you're just throwing darts at the darting board and just doing tomfoolery, you probably won't get the first win because you're not being intentional. So that's what I'm saying. That first one is really important, because if you're consistently good and you keep showing up, that first win will happen. But if you're just occasionally great, you're just doing stuff and kind of going haywire with stuff and just kind of going all off the wall, probably won't happen, because you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. But if you're doing what you need to do and you're just trusting the process, when that first one hits, it's a wrap. It's not gonna hold you. It's a wrap. But second thing I want to kind of address, failing isn't inherently bad, because I kind of mentioned it in episode 54. I was talking about like dealing with hardship. I just feel like failure brings you back to earth a little bit. So kind of what I said, like with the whole I think I was talking about the 5K thing. Like it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it brings you back to earth. It kind of helps you evaluate, okay, where did I go wrong, either mentally, physically, emotionally, or even if you really want to get deep into it, spiritually too. You could have gone wrong in a multitude of areas. So a quote unquote misstep or misexecution, when that happens, it's kind of like, all right, hold on. It's like a roadblock. It's kind of like a stop. Like, wait, let me stop a second. Like, what am I doing incorrect for me? Because incorrect can be different from person to person. But anyway, it kind of pulls you back and makes you realize, okay, maybe my mindset's off. Maybe I'm focusing on competing with others. Maybe I'm focusing on trying to be the biggest and the best in the room, trying to be the fastest and trying to outdo everyone instead of trying to outdo myself, you know? So I just feel like it brings you back to life, and it kind of brings you like back to where you really should be and back to your roots of the whole point of what you're doing, why you're doing whatever you're doing. But I just think it has a negative connotation due to like how people react to when people fail. Because I mean, you see on the internet, if someone falls on the ground and they kind of bust their butt on the ground, what's she gonna do? You're gonna laugh, like you're gonna be like, ha ha, like you fell. I mean, even though it might be like sometimes I ain't gonna lie, it's funny, but like if you think about it, like let's say someone misses the game-winning shot, and you're like, oh, like you're trash, like why are you on the team? Like you don't know, like obviously, like it might sound corny, but like you don't know what people are doing behind the scenes, like the whole process it took that guy to get to that point before he took that game-winning shot and missed. So just talking down on them and dogging on them, you don't really know what it took to get to that point. So I just think it has a negative connotation due to the reaction a lot of people, like society, has when people fail, because they just think, oh, you failed, so that dictates your whole life, that dictates everything you've done to get to the point. In reality, that's just a snapshot of that point. So I just think the main gist here is to accept the potential feelings of embarrassment, frustration, and just taking it one step at a time, because this too shall pass. Like over time, it will get better, and then you'll encounter a new high, and then you'll encounter a new low, and you'll just keep bouncing back and forth and learning from every one of them. But I kind of touched on this at number 2, but don't let others discourage you when you fail. Because I ain't gonna lie, me personally, I experienced this a lot in middle school, just playing basketball and doing sports. Like a lot of people's dogging on me, not gonna hold you, but it's I mean, it's kind of what it is. I mean, at a certain point, when you put out big goals and put out what, like, let's say you're an influencer, or you just put out what you want to do in life, and people hear about it, they might doubt you, or they're like, bro, you're not running a sub 17 5K, like, bro, you're delusional. But I mean, in reality, that's just most of the time. My mom used to tell me this, and I ain't seen it until I got older. Like, a lot of people are just envious, and they're kind of, I don't really know why people are envious, but now that I've gained some more knowledge as I've gotten older, I just think people lack the courage to do what you're setting out to do, and they feel intimidated, and they're like, oh, whoa, he's doing something that I might be scared of. Like, he's finna run a marathon. I don't want to run a marathon, so I'm finna dog on him and just talk about him, because I don't want to do that, and I don't want him to do it, so I'm going to talk about him, and gossip about him. So I just think a lot of people, like 99%, like a perfect example is like hate comments, like people hating on YouTube, like, oh, like your shirt is weird. Why do you like spaghetti? Spaghetti's trash. I don't know, just weird stuff. Like it's just people, they feel intimidated by what you're doing, and they feel like, oh, he's doing something I quote unquote can't do. In reality, they can do it. They just don't have the courage to do it yet, or maybe ever. I mean, certain people just never get to that. Oh, I started coughing. Whoops. Anyway, certain people might just not get to that point. So I just think it's a good time to evaluate, like, people around you, really lean into people that are supporting you and really appreciate them. But yeah, I just think a lot of people are gonna dislike you. I mean, I've heard that plenty of times, that the courage to be disliked. And just the one thing that really stood out to me in that book is that, I mean, obviously in the title, the courage to be disliked, people are gonna dislike you no matter what, especially if you're trying to do something great for yourself and trying to be better and evolve and do something that's actually good for you. Because like another example too, when you start, like for me, when I started eating healthier, people are like, bro, why are you eating organic, and why are you getting grass fed meat, and why are you getting sprouted oatmeal, and why are you getting pasture raised this? Like, bro, what's wrong with you? Are you going insane? Are you okay? Do you need to go to a mental institution? Like, are you good? I mean, reality is just they're like kind of intimidated because it's out of the norm. So you're doing something that's not quote unquote normal and it's different, they feel intimidated, and they feel the authority to talk about what you're doing. In reality, you're not doing anything wrong. It's trying to do something better for you and what you believe in. But fourth thing I want to talk about, don't get too high in the highs and don't get too low in the lows. And when I read that statement, don't get too high in the highs and don't get too low in the lows, I think of that clip of Kobe. And if you know basketball and you're just a fan, if you just know, there's this clip of Kobe. It was in the finals. I looked it up before this, not gonna lie, because I know what year. But it's 2020. I'm crying. 2009 NBA Finals. I don't know what team he was going against, but they're up 2-0. And then the reporters just asking him questions. I don't know verbatim what he asked, but he asked some along like the lines of how the series was going. And Kobe's like, "Job's not finished." And I don't know why, but that just goes so well with this, because the thing is, if you look at it from just a typical perspective, he's up 2-0. So he should be, oh, we up 2-0, like we cooking right now, we finna win. But he's just sitting there with a cold stone face, like he looks pretty calm. Like he's like, job's not finished, like we're not done. Like, what's there to be so jolly about? Like, we're not done. And I don't know why, but that just is the epitome of what this is. Because the thing is, even though Kobe was up 2-0, he wasn't like, posting and going to the club and just losing his mind. He stayed focused and he stayed in the process, and he was enduring the process. Like, okay, we need to keep going until we actually get this done, so I can actually say, all right, the job's finished. You know what I mean? So I just think this is a pure example of, obviously, when there's a new high in your life. Let's say you hit a new PR, or you place in a race, or maybe you get that new job promotion, or maybe you get that new advance, or whatever a win is to you, or a high is to you. Just a period of life where you hit a goal you've been trying to get to over extended period of time. It's important not to get too big-headed, because if you get too big-headed, you start to get complacent, you start to get comfortable, and then that's when stuff starts falling downhill. And then that high you was at, you now is gone. It can be taken away any moment. So I just think when you get in your head and you're like, oh, I'm on top of the world, I'm better than all of y'all, blah, 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 you start getting a little egotistical. You lose the plot of what you were even doing in the first place, and you start forgetting what the whole purpose and gist of what you're trying to do is. So I just think, like, Kobe, like, not being like it's not like he's like depressed, or like how I say, like upset, or like sad, or anything, like just like frustrated. He just looked like just like pretty calm about it. He's like, job's not finished, like we're not done. So I just feel like when you get in the high, you should definitely appreciate it, because I feel like if you don't appreciate it, you also lose the plot too, because you're like, why am I even doing this? Like I like, what's the point? But the thing is, if you take the time and really like appreciate it for, a short period of time, because you don't like want to dwell on that for the rest of your life, like, oh, I did this, because it's just always that person like, oh, I ran a 15-minute 5K in middle school, and they just still talking about it. Like, that's notable, but like still, like, bro, you're 45, you should have progressed from there. So I just think, on the other hand, if you stay in that low, like, let's say he was down 0-2, and he's just like, oh, we're down 0-2, like we're never going back up. Like, obviously, you're it's kind of like a pessimistic way of looking at things. Like, you're not gonna go up from there if you're just staying there in that rut, and you're like, oh, well, I'm never gonna get better. Oh, I'm dumb, or I'm never gonna evolve from this point. I just feel like you should embrace both of them and try and learn from both of them and appreciate both of them and move on from both of them. I think that's the main thing I'm trying to get across here. But just obviously, when you get that new PR, you hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, maybe you ace that test in geometry. I don't know. There's a bunch of things that could be a high or a win or a success for you and me. It depends. But I just think, don't make them the end all be all. Just take it and then move on from there and progress from there and learn from it. But fifth thing I want to talk about, life is interesting, because I just feel like with life, one moment you could be here, one moment you could be there. It's just, or it could be a gray area. It's very interesting, but I think that's the point of it. Life is weird, but it's supposed to be like that, because if you were just on a high the whole period of life, you wouldn't. I don't feel like a lot of people would have the drive and the purpose and the intent to keep going. Because if you were just on a high, like, let's say you were rich as soon as you came out the womb, and you're just rich, you're rich, you wouldn't feel any need to do anything. For most people, you would just be like, all right, I'm rich, so what's the point of getting out there and talking to more people, I'm spreading the word and doing what I got to do to be a decent person. If you're just rich, you have every single thing, you probably wouldn't feel the need to do anything with your life. But I mean, I'm not saying you want to be poor. I mean, if you are, I mean, that's kind of what the situation is, and you want, work with it the best you can. I'm just saying, I feel like that's a good analogy because it's just you're stuck at this one point. Your whole life, you're just stuck here. Like you're given everything, and you don't have to earn anything. I just feel like if you don't, you don't learn anything from the lows because when you're in a low, I feel like you're at your most vulnerable state. Because when you're at your most vulnerable state, like let's say, because this is one video, it was like this Nick Bear video. It was like a Las Vegas like race, and he was like, people, you really see, he said something along the lines, you really see who people are when they're hungry and when they're tired. And I can't agree anymore. So let's just say when you're in your low, you're hungry and tired. And when you're hungry and tired, a lot of, like, I ain't gonna lie, like most people, they just start acting a little crazy, you know what I mean? So I feel like when you're in a low, you're vulnerable, you're broken down, and you're exposed. All your weaknesses and weak points are exposed, and you really get the chance to dive into them and really realize who I am. Oh my gosh, excuse me. Who am I as a person, and where, like, am I competing with others? Am I comparing myself to others? Do I need to work on this relationship I dismissed a couple weeks ago? Do I need to talk to my mom, or just stuff like that? You just really realize, okay, what is going on in my life, and what do I need to work on, and what am I doing well, what am I not doing the best? So I feel like you're your most vulnerable in your lows, and at your high, you're kind of at like a peak. You're like, okay, and you really, it's like a flash of like a flash shot of what you could do even more down the line. So I just feel like a win is a flash shot of, and like a picture of what you can do and what you're capable of and where you can keep going. And a low is like a broken down state, kind of a refinement state of learning, okay, where can I progress more, and where are some areas that I need to work on. But that was the episode. You win some, you lose some. I just think with life, you're not always gonna win, you're not always gonna lose, but it's a blend of both. It's obviously, I would say, losing comes more than winning, like just overall. But I feel like when you get those wins, it's like it's a snapshot, it's a flash shot of where you're at and where you can go from there. But that was the episode. I feel like a lot of people need to hear that. English is hard, y'all know that English is a hard language. Anyways, we gonna carry on from that. But I just think a lot of people need to hear that. I definitely need to hear that because I'm still learning about that too, and I just wanted to share that with y'all where I'm at in my journey. But that was the episode, and we'll see y'all next time.